Welcome back to Journey to Success, the place where we take you deep inside the biggest global stories shaping the future. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe and join our growing community as we explore the truth behind politics, technology, defense, and economics. Today, we dive into one of the most dramatic developments in Asia. The United States has officially deployed its Typhon missile system in Japan, a move that has triggered sharp anger from China, fueled military tensions in the Pacific, and raised questions about the balance of power in the region. This is a moment that could reshape strategy not only for Washington and Beijing but for the entire Indo-Pacific. Stick with us until the end as we break down every angle of this escalating story, from technology to geopolitics, cost, price implications, and the future of warfare. To understand why the deployment of the Typhon system matters, we first need to step back and look at the strategic chessboard. The United States and China are locked in a deepening rivalry. The South China Sea, Taiwan Strait, East China Sea, and the broader Indo-Pacific have become flashpoints where military ships, aircraft, and missile systems frequently test each other's patience. For decades, China has been building up what is called an anti-access and area denial strategy, or A2AD, designed to keep American forces out of its near seas. That means long-range missiles, hypersonic glide vehicles, advanced radar systems, and warships capable of projecting power far beyond China's coastline. The US has been countering this with alliances, bases, and now, with the reintroduction of land-based missile systems that were once banned under international treaties. The Typhon system is at the heart of this new strategy. It is a land-based missile launcher capable of firing both Standard Missile-6 interceptors and Tomahawk cruise missiles. These are not just symbolic weapons. The SM-6 can be used for air defense, ballistic missile defense, and even surface strike missions. The Tomahawk, on the other hand, is a precision long-range cruise missile that can hit targets over 1,600 kilometers away with deadly accuracy. By placing the Typhon in Japan, the US is essentially saying it can now reach deep into East Asia, covering not just the South China Sea but even parts of mainland China. The message to Beijing is unmistakable: the United States is not backing down. Now, why Japan? The US-Japan alliance has been the cornerstone of American presence in Asia since the end of World War II. Japan hosts tens of thousands of US troops, multiple air bases, and a large naval presence. For Tokyo, the rise of China and the threat from North Korea's missile programs have made defense cooperation with the US more important than ever. Deploying the Typhon is both a strategic necessity and a political signal. It shows that Washington and Tokyo are fully aligned in countering Chinese influence, and it reassures US allies across the region that America is willing to bring its most advanced tools into play. But let's look at why China is so furious. For Beijing, US missile deployments in Asia are seen as an attempt to encircle and contain it. Every new base, every new system, feels like another link in a chain designed to restrict its rise. Chinese officials have already denounced the move, warning that it destabilizes the region and undermines peace. State media has gone even further, accusing the US of dragging Asia into a new Cold War. From China's perspective, these missiles could be used not only in defense but as a first strike option, threatening its strategic deterrent. In other words, Beijing sees Typhon in Japan not just as a shield, but as a sword pointed at its heart. It's worth remembering that for decades, the United States was restricted from deploying such missiles under the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, or INF, signed with the Soviet Union in 1987. That treaty banned land-based ballistic and cruise missiles with ranges between 500 and 5,500 kilometers. But in 2019, the US withdrew from the treaty, accusing Russia of violations. This opened the door for the development of systems like Typhon. Now, for the first time in decades, the US is once again stationing such weapons on Allied soil. The geopolitical ripple effects are enormous. Let's dig deeper into the Typhon system itself. Built under the U.S. Army's Mid-Range Capability Program, Typhon is essentially a highly mobile launcher mounted on trucks, making it difficult to target. Each launcher can carry multiple missiles and can be rapidly moved, hidden, or repositioned. This gives the U.S. enormous flexibility in responding to crises. In terms of cost, the Typhon system is not cheap. The initial program cost has been estimated in the billions of dollars, with each Tomahawk missile costing around $1.5 million and each SM-6 costing about $4.5 million. For Japan and other allies, the price is not only financial but political, as hosting such systems makes them direct targets in any potential conflict. The deployment also raises questions about escalation. Will China respond by deploying more missiles of its own? Will it target U.S. bases in Japan with new weapons in a crisis? Will Russia, another actor with interests in the region, also react? And how will North Korea, which constantly uses U.S. deployments as justification for its own missile tests, take advantage of the situation? These are not abstract questions. They cut to the core of whether Asia is headed toward a dangerous arms race. Let's take a moment to imagine how this looks from Beijing's military planners. With Typhon in Japan, U.S. forces can cover much of the Chinese coastline. In a crisis, these systems could be used to strike naval bases, missile launchers, or radar installations, potentially blinding China before a larger conflict. This shifts the balance of power in a way that no amount of rhetoric can hide. It forces China to invest in countermeasures, from anti-missile defenses to preemptive strike doctrines. In essence, it makes the region more unstable, not less. But for Washington, this is all about deterrence. U.S. officials argue that deploying Typhon is necessary to prevent China from miscalculating, especially regarding Taiwan. The logic is straightforward. If China knows the U.S. can strike back quickly and effectively, it may think twice before taking aggressive action. This is the same logic that underpinned the Cold War: deterrence through strength. Yet the risk is that both sides may overestimate their own capabilities and underestimate the other's resolve, a dangerous recipe in international politics. The price of peace, therefore, is not only measured in dollars but in the delicate balance of perception and power. For Japan, hosting Typhon means investing more in its own missile defense and security infrastructure. Tokyo has already announced plans to double its defense budget over the coming years, spending more than $300 billion to strengthen its forces. The Typhon fits neatly into this larger transformation of Japan from a purely defensive posture to a more proactive military role. This too has angered China, which accuses Japan of abandoning its pacifist constitution. As we continue to explore this story, let's not forget the role of other regional players. South Korea, the Philippines, Australia, and even smaller Southeast Asian states are watching closely. Some may welcome America's show of force as a shield against China. Others may fear being caught in the crossfire. The Philippines has already granted the U.S. access to more bases, while Australia is working with Washington and London under the AUKUS Pact to develop nuclear-powered submarines. All of this contributes to a shifting landscape where alliances are being tested and strengthened in response to China's rise. On the technical side, Typhon's versatility is key. Unlike fixed missile bases, which are vulnerable to attack, mobile launchers can survive longer in a conflict. The ability to launch Tomahawks also gives U.S. commanders new options for precision strikes without having to rely on aircraft carriers or bombers. This extends the reach of American power at a relatively lower cost compared to deploying entire fleets. In terms of price-performance ratio, the Typhon is one of the most effective tools in the U.S. arsenal today. But let's also look at the human angle. For people in Japan, especially in Okinawa and other regions where U.S. bases are concentrated, the deployment brings mixed feelings. On one hand, there is the reassurance of American protection. On the other, there is the fear of becoming a target. Protests have already broken out in some communities, with residents demanding greater transparency and warning that they do not want to be on the front line of a US-China confrontation. The price of hosting American power is not only financial, it is also about safety and sovereignty. Looking ahead, what happens next? China is unlikely to accept this quietly. It may respond with military drills, missile tests, or diplomatic pressure. It may strengthen its own missile deployments in coastal provinces. It may also try to divide U.S. allies by offering economic incentives or warnings. The U.S. for its part will continue to argue that Typhon is purely defensive, even as it expands its capabilities. The risk of miscalculation will grow, especially around Taiwan, where even a small incident could spiral into something larger. In conclusion, the deployment of the Typhon missile system in Japan is more than just a military story. It is about technology, politics, money, and the fragile balance of power in Asia. It shows how old treaties are collapsing, how new weapons are reshaping strategies, and how great powers are preparing for scenarios that once seemed unthinkable. The price tag of billions of dollars is nothing compared to the potential human cost if deterrence fails and war breaks out. For now, we are watching a high-stakes gamble, one that could either secure peace through strength or accelerate the road to conflict. That's all for today's deep dive. If you found this analysis valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Journey to Success. Stay tuned for more insights into the forces shaping our world, and as always, keep seeking the truth behind the headlines.